America spent decades building a stranglehold around Venezuela. Sanctions, threats, isolation. Washington's master plan was simple. Cut off Venezuela from China, force Caracas to bow to American oil companies, and control the world's largest proven oil reserves. But here's what Washington didn't expect. China didn't just push back. China walked away first. And now, the entire U.S. strategy is in pieces. Welcome back. If you've been following the geopolitical chess match between the United States and China, the last few months have been nothing short of extraordinary. Today, we are breaking down the full story. From America's military intervention in Venezuela in January 2026 to how China responded, to why the U.S. Grand Plan has effectively failed as of May 2026. This is not mainstream media spin. This is raw geopolitical reality. Stay till the end, because the final twist will genuinely shock you. Let's rewind the clock. Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, 303 billion barrels. That is 17% of all proven oil reserves on this entire planet. For years, the United States wanted that oil for itself. But instead, U.S. sanctions pushed Venezuela directly into China's arms. Beijing loaned Venezuela over $10 billion through Chinese policy banks. China's state oil giant CNPC formed joint ventures with Venezuela's national oil company, PDVSA. China was buying between 300,000 and 470,000 barrels of Venezuelan crude every single day. And most of this oil was shipped secretly, routed through Brazil and Malaysia to avoid U.S. detection. In 2023, Venezuela and China elevated their relationship to an all-weather strategic partnership, meaning we stand together no matter what. Venezuela called China the superpower of the 21st century. China called Venezuela its most trusted partner in Latin America. This was Washington's absolute nightmare. Then came January 3, 2026. In a move that shocked the entire world, the United States military launched an operation in Caracas and captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. President Trump announced the U.S. would temporarily run Venezuela until a safe and proper transition could happen. He declared that American oil companies would claim and extract Venezuelan oil. And then came the ultimatum, the line that changed everything. The United States will not authorize oil production in Venezuela unless Venezuela severs all economic ties with China, Russia, Iran, and Cuba. Read that again. Washington was telling Venezuela, abandon China completely, or we won't let you produce oil at all. And just days before the operation, on January 1, 2026, the U.S. Treasury sanctioned 4 Chinese companies and 4 oil tankers: Zhejiang-based Corniola, Hong Kong-based Ares Global Investment, Crepey Myrtle, and Winky International, along with 4 vessels connected to Venezuelan oil trade. Washington was sending a crystal-clear signal to Beijing: stay out of Venezuela. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. China did not panic. China did not beg. China did not send warships. China made a quiet, calculated decision, and it shattered America's plan completely. China's major state-owned oil companies, CNPC and Sinopec, began pulling back from Venezuelan oil operations. Sinopec had one major joint venture with PDVSA, and even before the military operation, as far back as February 2025, Sinopec had already signed an agreement to sell its shares to a U.S.-based company, essentially exiting Venezuela's oil sector entirely. China conquered petroleum, which had been expected to invest $1 billion in Venezuelan oil by the end of 2026, was now frozen under U.S. sanctions. Independent Chinese teapot refineries in Shandong province, which had been quietly processing Venezuelan crude for years, began pulling back under the mounting sanctions pressure. The flow of Venezuelan oil to China, which had been a lifeline for both countries, began to slow dramatically. Washington thought this was a win. But here's what they completely failed to understand. China had already built a backup plan years in advance. Here is the detail that mainstream media buried entirely. A U.S. House Select Committee on China released a major report in 2026 revealing something extraordinary. China had been using a shadow fleet of oil tankers, older ships operating through opaque ownership structures under foreign flags, to buy sanctioned oil from Venezuela, Iran, and Russia at